Hi everyone, I'm Kieran Oversapien and thanks for checking out this 2.5D tutorial. This section is the preview where we'll give you a little quick sneak peek of what we've been creating towards the end of the tutorial. And since this is quite a long tutorial, I figured that some people might want to see what we're creating rather than sticking around to the end. So as you can see, we've got our little character here. He's from mixamo.com and we've created some run forward and run backward animations, which will reveal that secret once we get into the tutorial. We've also got a jump system. You can land, you can text land quite easily. So as you can see, once we jump, you go into a fall, and you can even, so I'll jump up here, you can even, once you jump, you can control his fall a little bit, if you can notice that. Alright, and we've also got a little crouch system implemented, where the camera even comes in nice and close, kind of like you see in most common 2.5D games. And he can come into a little fall there as well. Alrighty, so let's go up to another jump, and we have reached the end of our little tutorial level. I hope you guys are really excited for this quite a long tutorial, and of course if you have any questions, let me know. You can always pause the video, send it to me, I usually reply quite quickly. And stick around through the whole thing. You can even send me another question at the end once you reach it, and I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone and welcome to our new tutorial. This is going to be a 2.5D kind of walking across these blocks and creating a guy that kind of looks like this camera angle. So this is sort of 2D and it's sort of 3D, and I've had a lot of requests about it. And it's more about how to lock the character along the its Z-axis so it doesn't move backwards and forwards. So it won't move backwards and forwards like this. We basically want to keep it locked at 0. So probably the main thing we want to do first is move it to 0, and this will make it easier for when we want to lock it all in place. So let's move our environment to 0. So now you'll notice he'll be in the center, and then this little level I've created. So basically we want to create a little movement system so our character moves right and left, and then also has a falling detection and maybe even a jump. So that way he can jump and fall, and then jump up, and then fall, and then jump up. So let's have a look at how we're going to do this. So probably first off we want to create a new empty object, and we're going to call this our player base. And let's just bring this to 0, 0, 0, and bring it up to our player. Well, actually we can even drag it into our player and make it 0, 0. Because that will make it directly at his feet, as you can see. So now we just drag that out and then drag our player object into it. I got this guy from mixamo.com and he's all pre-rigged and everything, so it makes it nice and fast for me. And what we want to do to double check that he's all set up for our animations is come down and find our model, go to rig, and make sure you have it as humanoid. So if it was as generic, you just have to come down, humanoid, and click apply, and then that will set it up all ready to go. Alrighty, so now we need to, under our player, let's rename him to the player model. So this is where you can come and drop your own model, and it should all hook up properly. And under here, let's create a new empty object, drag it up kind of in his under his arms, and let's call this the camera follow. This is what our camera is going to follow as he moves backwards and forwards. And now we have our main camera up here, and this is what we've positioned back here, and that's what gives us this camera angle. Alrighty, so what we want to do is create another empty object and call this the camera base, and then we'll bring this out to 0, 0, 0. Actually, first we have to drag that up under the main camera, and then bring it 0, 0, 0, and 0. That x-axis out as well. So now you'll notice that we've got our main camera here, and let's bring this into the angle that we want. So let's bring this in a bit further. Let's double check for this. Maybe bring it up a tiny bit. And I'll be happy with that angle to start off with. So all we need to do now is go camera base, drag that out, and then drag the main camera under. And let's create a new FSM, and this is just going to follow the camera follow, which is pretty simple as it sounds. And let's just create a new action, and we're going to say move to, Perfect. Now probably what we want to do first is actually unhook this camera base and make it actually go to the camera follow. I think I did that wrong. Otherwise the main camera is going to be all offset weird. So let's make that 0, 0, 0, and then bring that out and then put the main camera under the camera base again. So now you'll notice that the camera base will be perfect under here. So that's really good. So now we go back to here. So we're going to move the camera towards the camera follow, and it's never going to finish. And that should be all good to start off with. Alrighty, so now let's start hooking up our character to move backwards and forwards. So let's go into our animations and our other animations. And probably first off, what we want to do is actually, let's create a new folder. And we're going to call this guy our animator mech anim. So let's jump into here. Let's create a new animator controller. We're just going to call this movement. Let's go to our player model and drag our movement onto him. So once we've set up everything in the animator, it will all link properly. Let's just quickly animate physics and always animate. Now let's go to animator, back to our animations, and let's bring up an idle. So this is when he's not moving. And let's create a blend state. We're just going to pretty much change this to movement, rename it, jump into it. So now we've got our blend tree. So all we need to do is create two floats. We're going to have input X, which is left and right, and input Z, which is technically going to be up and down. Well, we can probably rename this to Y, because Y is up and down to make it simpler. And let's also create another one for input magnitude. This sometimes helps if we need to really bring in a certain value into our blend states. So let's go to a 2D Cartesian. Let's go X and then Y, and let's drop in a few motion fields. You'll notice that the little graph that's popped up. Let's bring this down. So let's bring a couple of these out. So let's bring in that idle that we had before, and that's going to be at 0, 0. So now you'll notice he's going to kind of just ponder there by himself. A good little idle. And to start off with, let's bring in a Y. We actually probably don't even need a 2D, because when we're doing a jump, we're going to be going towards a different blend state. So let's bring in just a 1D. So this is basically a left and a right. And let's pretty much bring this all down to 2, because it's fairly simple system. And we only want the X. Alrighty, so let's go to a run. Let's look for a run. This is going to do. And our threshold is either going to be 0 or 1. Alrighty. And then we'll probably want another one for -1, which is going to be our left. So when we press left, he'll run loop to the left, and otherwise he'll run loop to the right. But you'll notice he doesn't actually shift, he doesn't turn, but we're going to fix it up using a script later. Alrighty, so now that that's basically set up, that's a very quick little rig. Let's come to our player model and let's create a new FSM. We're going to call this our movement. And let's come in here and we're just going to create a variable to start off with. We're going to call this horizontal. Alrighty, I'm going to call this probably a movement. That's going to do. We'll call this movement to the right, and you'll see why in a second. So let's go and get the axis. And this axis we're going to get is the horizontal, which is basically moving left and right. And we're going to store that as our horizontal in that variable we just made. Perfect. Alrighty, so now all we really need to do is say float compare. So let's go float compare. I'm going to compare the horizontal. So when horizontal is probably, so we're actually going to move to the left, so make it 0.5. So basically when we push left, it's going to say -1, and when we push right, it's going to say 1. So this is basically what horizontal is showing, and I can show you that quickly. If we go to Inspector, we press play. So I'm pushing right, goes to 1. I push left, goes to -1. Alrighty, so what we want to do is say if this, or you can pretty much say if horizontal is less than 0, we're gonna go to the left. So say to left, or say to right. So we're gonna pretty much say a transition. Alrighty, so if this is less than 0, we're gonna go to the left every frame. Now let's copy and paste this, just saying, do you want to make a new start state? No. And let's bring this up next to it, and we're going to say movement left, bring it on the left side of it so it doesn't confuse us. And let's change this transition to right, so to right and to left. Perfect. So if this is less than 0, we're going to go to the left, and if it's greater than 0, we're going to go to the right. Alright, how's that look? Now basically you'll notice that if I go into it and press play, you'll notice nothing actually happens yet, but it is letting us know that we are moving left and right when I press left and right. So all we need to do now is go smooth lookout direction, and then basically this is going to tell us which direction we're looking in. So let's bring this down, and I think this is, if we move to the right, we're going to be moving in the positive X. We might have to switch this. Or if we're moving to the left, we're moving in the negative X. So let's just have a quick look at this. So now when I press left, he moves left, and when he moves right, he's looking right. So basically this is going to keep him looking left and right. But basically what we want to do is also make sure that he's not going to move backwards and forwards in the Z, otherwise he's going to run off these blocks once we start testing. So let's say set position, and set the position at 0 for Z every frame. Copy this over to here. So that means he's going to always be locked on the Z axis. Perfect. So now all we need to do is let's go to our movement right. We're going to set animator float. If you don't see these things, you want to download your ecosystem, and then you probably just want to look up animator, and then you'll see this package, and then you just say import, and it will, or say get, and then that will import the actions that you'll need to see these actions. Alrighty, so now that we have this animator float, let's go and say input X, which is that parameter we set up for here, which is actually handling this blend tree, which is going to blend it to the left or to the right. Alright, I think I actually might have set that up wrong. 0? No, that looks fine. Alrighty, let's go back to our player model, and our value is going to be set at horizontal every frame. And let's copy this float over to our other one. And maybe let's speed up that speed that he's going to be looking left and right to 10. That'll just make him a bit more snappy. And let's have a look at what's going to happen. Alrighty, so now we have a little simple system set up. So the camera is following, our guy is running backwards and forwards, and it's looking quite good. But you'll notice once I move off the block, he's going to stay where he is. So that's the next thing we have to fix up. So let's go into our player model. It's a very simple fix. Let's go and say add component, character controller, and let's just bring this guy up and position him in the correct spot. So let's make him a bit higher. Alrighty, let's have a look at his feet. You don't want this little capsule to be going through the ground. So let's just bring it up a tiny bit. Alrighty, that looks good. Good height room. And now let's go back to our movement, and let's say simple controller move, controller simple move. You don't need to worry about that. And say copy, and paste this guy in here as well. Now you'll notice when I press play and I move off to the edge, he's going to fall and he collides with the objects. So that's looking pretty good, hey? So now we need to use our input Y, so that way we can jump up and down. And that's going to be another branching thing in our movement tree. So let's go ahead and before we do this one, let's go to our animator and let's work on setting up our next animation transition. So let's have a look to start off with for a jump animation. Pretty much any jump will do. So you kind of want to have it a bit snappy, so that might be a bit too slow. Kind of want it to be, because we're going to blend pretty much to him falling. So that's going to do. So let's just bring this out and let's just call this jump. That should be perfect. And let's make a transition. So I don't think we even, let's try it without a transition. Sometimes this makes it a bit simpler. So let's go back to our player movement. And all we want to do is, let's say, new event to jump. Let's bring this under right to jump. Let's create a new state. And this state's going to be jump. Perfect. Now we want to get the other axis, so let's copy and paste this one. And we're just going to call this guy vertical. And we're going to get a new variable, so we have to store it somewhere. So let's create this new vertical parameter. And we're going to store the vertical as vertical. Pretty cool. And we're going to compare the float, and that's what's going to send it to the jump. So if vertical is greater than 1, or greater than 0, we're going to jump. So that's pretty cool. But this is technically if you want up to do it. We can also link it to spacebar as well, because I guess in 2D games, up and down, you could be crouching. So, well, yeah, you see what I mean. We can always implement the crouch later. Alrighty, so let's go back to here. So now you'll notice once we press up and down, we're going to get -1 and +1. Although that stopped because it probably went to that event. So once I pressed up, there you go, it went to jump. So now all we need to do is go to here, and let's say animator, crossfade, which is basically going to instantly blend from any state in here to this any name that we put in here. So basically you have to spell this exactly the same as this animation. So we've named it jump. So it's going to blend straight to it. And let's make the transition 0.02. So it's basically going to like happen straight away. And let's also create a translate, which is going to move him really far up. So let's make him translate about 5 up. So that's going to help him move. So let's have a look at what that's going to do. Let's you'll probably notice he'll keep flying up. So I'll press up. So now he's flying up. So what we need to do now is actually drag our character controller in here, set the property to not be enabled. So that way he's basically not going to try and fall back down. And we'll also want to create a wait. Let's wait for maybe 1 second. We're going to say finished. And then we're going to say he's going to start falling, which is we're going to raycast underneath him. And then you guessed it, we're going to blend from the jump to a falling straight away. And then once this raycast hits something, we're going to say has found the ground, and then go back, and we'll go back to the movement. Alrighty, so let's go and say finished. So falling. Let's actually set up the animation. So it's lots of jumping backwards and forwards, but it does make it easier. So let's go jump, and then let's pretty much say as soon as the jump's over, or actually probably we probably want to just transition, use the animated crossfade straight into it. So now that that's sitting there, let's create another animated crossfade. Let's get the state name, which is falling loop, and let's set that transition as 0.02. Alrighty, so now if I press play and I run and jump, there we go. So he's basically gone into that. Now he's doing that. So what we want to do is probably actually set up that transition. So once he's mid-air, let's create that transition. So basically he jumps and then he transitions into falling. That should be good. And then let's say, we don't even really need that to set up a condition, because it's going to happen every time. Perfect. So let's go to our playmaker and play model. Let's turn off this crossfade because we're not going to need it, but we're still going to want to kind of translate him down. So let's bring this down, and we're going to say let's move him down maybe every 4, so that way he kind of falls. And let's set up a raycast. Perfect. And let's go to our scene, and we're going to create a little falling game object. So let's go to our player model, create an empty, and let's just move it up to around here, just so it's not directly in line with the ground. And we're just going to call this our falling detector. So we're going to shoot rays downwards, so once he finds ground, he can land properly. So let's go back to our player model, and we're going to raycast from this little guy, our falling detector, in the direction -y. I'm just going to shoot it down. Let's make it about 1.1. We can make that a bit bigger. And then once we have hit ground, we're going to create an event to land. So let's create that transition. Let's just create another state to hook that into. So once we've hit, we're going to say to land. Let's just turn on debug so that way we can see this line that's going to create. Let's create a bit of a different color. Let's create a bright red. Alrighty, so that should be all set up to start off with. So let's just bring this down so we can see what's going to happen. Let's go into our game mode. Alright, so I'm going to press up. You'll see the little thing starts, and then we've gone to our land state. Although that raycast might have been a little bit long, so let's make this about 0.8. And let's also reduce that transition. We might have to, let's bring this in a little bit and shorten it so it makes it a bit snappier. Alright, so let's try this again. Perfect. And 1 second is a bit long because he's still moving up in that time. So let's just refine it. Let's bring it down to maybe 0.5. And this is basically where your balancing comes in. So I'd be happy with that, and maybe we could make the falling a little bit quicker as well. So let's make this about -7. And then let's create another land animation. So let's say, what do we got? We've got jump idle land. Let's make it hard. So once he lands, it kind of goes to a hard fall. Perfect. And let's basically just say land hard. We don't need to worry about typing in all that other stuff. Let's fix up that one spelling mistake. Perfect. Alright, let's go back to our playmaker. And let's rename this guy to land. Not lambda, land. And let's go into, where we got our crossfade. Let's just copy this, save time. Paste this in, and we're gonna say land hard. And let's just say wait for 0.7, and then let's say finished, back to our movement. We can even set up a test to see which way, positive way we're facing, so it goes into the right state. but we can set that up a bit later. Alrighty, so that's looking very, very good. So let's go out. So we want to pretty much make a quick transition back to our movement. So that way we know that it's always going to go back. So we've got our land hard. Let's transition it around here, make it a bit shorter. So that's going to look great. Perfect. Alright, so let's just give it a little play and see what's going to happen. So we've got that. Alright, it's looking good. But you'll notice that we can't really make him go forward while we're jumping. And then our we never turned back on our character controller. So these are just a few little things that we'll have to fix up. So let's go to our player model. And after our falling, once we're back in to probably our land, that's probably when we want to turn it back on. So let's go to our property, copy this, go to here, and let's enable that player model. Perfect. So he falls, he jumps, and we've re-enabled it now so he can run back into objects. But we still want to kind of make him be able to jump forward. Alright, we could even possibly turn it back on in a falling as well. Let's just have a look at what that's going to do. Let's copy and paste this guy back into here. Make sure he's enabled. So that should make him fall a bit quicker. And we could even reduce the radius so that way he is a bit more reactive to when he's falling. Perfect. And we probably could even set up a raycast in the movement events as well. So that way when he walks off, he'll go into a full animation instead of just standing there. Alrighty, now let's work on trying to fix him moving while he's falling, so that way we can control whether he's moving forward or backwards. And what we wanted to probably do first is, if you notice when we press play, when we press right and we jump, he jumps. But then if we push left and then jump, we haven't actually set up this transition. So let's just quickly set up that transition. So let's just pretty much get the vertical, and that's pretty much the only other thing that we've set up in there. Let's get that, drop this into here. Let's make sure we have the jump transition and jump that into there. Perfect. So now when we move forward and jump, he's going to jump, and when we move this way and jump, he's going to jump. So what we really want to do now is actually make him go forward. So let's go into our jump, and let's just get translate and move him forward in +2. I'm not sure if this is actually going to make sure he always goes in that direction. So let's... So he's moving the wrong way. So let's go to jump, turn that to none, make that +2. So I'm not sure if he's facing that way, is he going to go forward? Well, he went forward that way. But I think... Yes. Well, he seems to be doing the right thing. So let's go into our jump, and let's just make this like 15 so we can see really what's happening. So jump, and then he falls. Okay, so he seems to be doing the right thing. So let's go and make this maybe 3 or 4. And while he's translating down, let's make him also keep moving in that direction. Alright, so that seems to be working pretty good. There we go. So that way now we can actually control his movement. Although you'll notice that when he jumps, you can't actually control him when he's moving. So let's try and fix that up next. So we've got him moving correctly in the right as he's falling, like he's going correctly in the forward direction. But what we really want to do now is make sure that once he's falling, because the character wants to be able to kind of control him a bit when he's moving. So let's sort that out now. Alrighty, so let's get that movement set up while he's falling. So let's just come and create an action. And we're going to say get axis vector. And let's map this into an input vector in our variable. Let's create a vector 3. Perfect. Now basically let's make him multiply that by about 6. So that way he moves quite a lot. And let's also create a controller move. That's going to be perfect. Hook that into there. Now when we press play and we jump, we can actually control him while he's moving. So that's pretty cool. So one other thing that we'll probably want to also make sure that we do is set the position, so that way when he bumps into objects while he's jumping or falling, he never moves off his point. So that's very important. This is a 2.5D game. That's cool. We can also probably even bring that into the jump if we wanted to. So we could turn off that Z so it doesn't move forward. But if we go to land, grab that controller move, and where is that? Get axis. And let's copy them and bring them into jump. So this is going to basically help us control him while he's jumping. So if you wanted to make him move forward, he's going to move forward a tiny bit. Or if you really want him to make forward, he'll go like that. Alright, so we could even, let's bring in a tiny bit of forward movement. Where are we at? Here. Translate. Let's bring this forward. Let's make that about 4. Alright. Okay, it's looking great. So let's bring the falling speed. Let's increase that to maybe about 10. How's that look? Alright, that's looking perfect. We could even hold the button. So if we hold jump, let's try and make it increase the strength of the jump a tiny bit. Otherwise, we'll go to the falling. So let's go into here, and we're gonna go down. And instead of just a weight, let's create this weight a tiny bit longer. So that way he'll keep going up. Or if we say float compare. So this is going to compare the vertical, and if vertical is less than, say, 0, if it's equal to 0, or if it's less than 0.5. So if it's less than 0.5, we're also going to go to finish, and you'll see what's going to happen here in a second. So let's say I quickly press it, he doesn't really jump at all. But if I hold it down, he really goes for it. But there's also a problem that when it's pretty much equal to 0 as it's working up, it's not going to go straight there. So probably what we want to do is, let's say, how are we going to do this? We could even go just for a get button up. That's probably going to work a bit better. So when what we got in our input. So this is where having an actual jump key would work a lot better. So what we got vertical. So let's just say when vertical, there we go, jump. So when vertical is released, let's go to finished. So let's go in here. So we can either press up and he'll get a bit more of a jump, or we can kind of press it and he'll have a small jump. So let's go for a big jump. So that way we can kind of climb over these larger objects a bit better. And we could even give his jump animation a bit more of a speed, so that way it looks like he's jumping a bit more force. Yeah, that's looking cool. Although I don't like how he kind of floats for a little bit while he's flying. So, I mean, that's just all stuff that you probably have to tinker around with. But yeah, the general premise is there. So we probably could even bring down his wait time just a little bit. That's why he's he kind of goes off into that flying jump position. So let's go into our playmaker again. And let's just bring down this wait time. Let's bring that down to about 0.6. And hopefully in that period, he should be good. Yeah. And then we can actually still control him while we're jumping. But you'll notice that if we jump on our left side and we land, he'll look back to his right, and that's what I was saying before about how we'll have to fix up this land. So now let's just quickly do a new state and say if we're going to say either to left or to right. And let's hook these into the left and to the right ones. Let's create a circuit, so that way it's a bit more of a straight line, so it's a bit easier to kind of follow. I find these are a bit nicer to look at instead of curvy lines racing everywhere. Alright, so these guys will be fine. So let's just say we're going to decide either left or right. All right. So this is going to pretty much decide whether we're going to land left or right. And we're going to do a float compare. And if our float horizontal is less than 0, we're going to go to the left, and if it's greater, we're going to go to the right. Alright, so if we jump, alright, so that way we went there, and if this way we went that way. And then if it's 0, that should be, oh, it looks great. And if we jump this way, he's going to stay looking that way. So that way is good. And then if we jump this way, he stays looking this way. So that little bit of math worked a treat. And then let's set up that falling raycast, so then when we walk off this, he automatically goes into the fall. So that's going to help with that. Oops. Alright, so let's go into our playmaker. And let's just quickly save our scene, so that way we're going to call this demo 2.5D. Alright, so let's go in and get our jump, or falling, and let's get our raycast, copy this into our movement, and we're going to create that transition to, where are we going, to falling. Let's create another one, to falling. So let's drag this into here, to falling, to falling. Alright, so we've got this guy, but in this case we're not going to look for a hit event, we're going to look for a no hit event. Otherwise we're going to go to a falling, and copy and paste this guy in here, and that should be good. Let's make this a little bit longer, or actually maybe 0.9. Should be good. Alright, so now when we go into here, do we set up that falling? Yep, okay. So now when we go into this guy, let's press play, and we walk off the edge. We kind of went straight into that run state. Let's have a look. That's probably because we need to set up a crossfade, because remember this one goes into a transition. So let's go in here, and I'm not feeling, I want to probably reduce this multiplier a little bit as well so he doesn't go crazy when he's falling. And let's create a new state, and we're going to call this just crossfade into fall. Let's just set that color, makes it a bit easier. And let's drag these two guys in here, and let's just say finished. And all we're going to do is create that animated crossfade, And this animated crossfade will be into our falling loop. And his transition will be nice and quick. Perfect. So now when we save and we jump, he's looking good. Alright, so we come off here. Oh, there we go. He went to a fall. Jump. It's looking good. Alrighty, so this is looking quite excellent. Alrighty, so this has been quite a long tutorial so far, but I feel that we should probably let's just maybe start setting up our a damage or weapon system, or even maybe let's have a look at trying to set up a crouch system. So let's maybe edit the map a little bit so that way we can crouch through a different area. So let's have a look at how we can further expand the animation system, and we might leave the combat for the next one, otherwise we'll be dragging this on for quite a while. Alright, so let's go in to our animator, and let's pretty much, all we're going to pretty much do is copy this blend tree. So let's copy and paste this guy, and we're going to change this movement. We're going to call this crouched movement, and we're going to create a new bool. We're going to say to crouch. Perfect. Let's create that transition into here, and our condition is going to be to crouch is true. Turn off exit time, because as soon as we press crouch, he should go into the crouch. And after here, once we release crouch and it's false, we're instantly going to go back to our standing position. So let's have a look for a crouch. Where we are, C. Let's have a look. Crouch idle. So let's jump into here, and we're going to get our crouch idle. Put that in here, and we're going to get our forward loop, and let's place these guys in here. This is how nice and quick and easy, if once you set it up properly, it is to modify. So let's go into our player model, and let's have a look in here. And what we want to really do first is go to our input and set up a new crouch. Let's see if I've got one set up already. Oh, there we go, I've got one set up. So all you need to do is change this number to like 21. If you need another one, type in crouch, put a button in a positive button, and you're all good to go. And make sure your type is key or button, not any of these other ones. Lovely. Alright, let's go to our player model, and we're going to say get button down. Pretty much as simple as it sounds. And we're going to say crouch. The event, we're going to say to crouch. Perfect. And we're going to say add transition to crouch. Crouch, because we're going to have to set it for both of them. And let's go, where did it go? Get button down, we're going to say to crouch. And oops, let's copy this guy, get a get button down. Let's drag this guy into here. So now let's create a new state. And theoretically, let's copy this guy. Paste this guy here. We're going to say movement left crouch. This is pretty much just shortcutting everything. And copy and paste the right guy. No, we don't want to worry about the start. And we're going to copy and paste this guy. And this guy is going to be our crouch right. Oh, let's make sure it's spelt the same. Crouch right crouch. And then let's hook up left and right, jump and falling and to, and then we'll have to make another one to standing. So let's change this guy to standing, back to left, and this one back standing to right. So now our system's getting a little bit more complicated. Let's quickly just switch these over to circuits. Otherwise, trust me, otherwise it gets ridiculous. When you have curvy lines flying all over the place, it makes it a little bit harder to get what the hell's going on. Alright, so At least with those ones, we've got these ones. Let's make that one also circuit. Let's make this link color a different one, so that way we know that it's gonna, these two are going to here, and then the crouches will be going down there. So let's make these guys move yellow. So that way it kind of helps us break it up. And let's create this color as yellow, this color as yellow, and these two can be cyan. And having different colors really helps you break up what's going on. So we've got our right, we've got our left. Let's bring that down. Okay, perfect. That seems to be all looking good. Now let's have a look at what our error is. And we're going to get the button down crouch. Instead of going to crouch, we're going to go to standing. We're going to go to standing. Perfect. Basically, the only thing we're going to do now is say set animator bool, which is going to set this little to crouch thing that we set up before. And we're just going to say to crouch, make it activated, so ticket. Let's go back to here, that's activated, go to here, make it turned off, make it turned off. And we could even come into, let's go into our land and make sure it is turned off in here. So that way when we land, he goes back into a standing position. All right, so let's press play, press crouch. Look at that, now he crouches, although we'll have to change the height of our character controller. We press stand, he'll go back into stand. And if we jump, if we go into a fall, from that he'll go back into the standing position. So this is looking real good. So let's go crouch, he'll crouch. And then that way we can sort of hook up some sort of stealth system into enemies, so that way they can't see us if we're in like a shadow area or something. So this is looking great, although let's just quickly fix up that character controller. We're going to pretty much want to reduce it by half. So let's go back into our playmaker, go into our movement, and let's just bring down some of these guys, because we know that these guys are all working. Alrighty, so that way we can kind of helps us see what we're doing. And we're going to set the center Y, because that's pretty much the only one. We're going to make sure this is exactly the same value, so that when he stands back up, it's going to be set exactly the same. So let's paste this, and we also want to make sure our height is the same, so 3.81. Now let's copy both of these and put them on our left one. Perfect. Now let's come into here and let's go and start to have a look at, actually let's go into our game mode, so that way it's not gonna kill our values. So let's go and press crouch. Now let's center that, reduce the height. Oh, I think we killed it. Might have to do it this way. So let's kind of just eyeball it. So let's bring this guy up, make it a bit taller. All right, so those values look like they should be good. So let's go into our right crouch. We're gonna make the center 1.02 and the height 1.85. So we're basically halving each thing. And let's just copy these guys and paste these guys in here. Lovely. And as soon as we go into a jump, let's quickly reset this 1.94, whoops, and our height to 3.81. Lovely. All right, this is looking really, really good. Now let's just go back to here, copy these two, and make sure they're both in jump and in falling, because otherwise our character controller will be all not correct. All right, so let's have a quick look. So now when we press play, you'll notice that our little our character control actually changes size, so that way when we move forward and backwards, and it goes back to the proper size. So now let's just create a quick alteration in the map. Let's bring this up Let's make sure it's something that he'll be able to fit under. Not sure if that's going to be good. So let's go down here. He falls. Let's bring this guy up. Now let's press crouch. Alright, so we have to bring this up a little bit. Edit this live. Alright, that's looking good. Let's make this like that. Let's transform, copy this. And let's paste this guy in. Alright, so now when we press play again, this is going to be looking great. Let's jump up in here. Uh-oh, can't go through there. Let's crouch. Hey. Alright, so this is looking really good. Now you'll probably notice that, oh, he kind of glitched him out of it. But yeah, it's looking good. But maybe even another thing we could enhance is that once we're in crouch, the player might want to see a bit closer what's actually happening. So let's try and figure out a way to bring the camera closer. And we can do this by, let's have a look. So let's go into play. Let's just bring this guy over here. So this way, let's just make it 16 by 9. So this is that's pretty much what we're seeing, right? And you know our camera's following our camera follow. So if we bring this back, let's bring this back to around here. Alright. Yes. So now when he moves, the camera will kind of follow in the correct thing, but I don't think this is the solution that we are wanting, because as he turns around, the camera is going to go in the opposite direction. So that's not a way we can do it. So another way we might have to do it is get the distance between here and here, and then which is probably just the x-axis, isn't it? Yep. So all we need to do, so let's drag this out so we've got a full view. Let's go to our main camera. Let's create another FSM, and we're going to call this camera distance change on crouch. You could change it on anything if you want. You could change it when it's falling. So let's just call this idle, and let's create another event, and we're going to call this to crouch. And then we're going to call another event to standing, which is basically going to take it back to idle. Alright, so that's just standing. Alright then, so that's looking great. And let's say get button down, so to crouch. Or actually, another way that's probably going to make sure it is always correct is if we go back to here and we create a bool and just say is crouching. Alright, and we're going to pretty much do something simple and just say set bool. Oop, wrong one, not animated bool. We're going to say bool value, and we're just going to say is crouching, and well, it's not true because he's standing currently. So let's go and copy this guy, copy him in there, and when in crouch he will be, and in this one he will be, and jumping he's not. So let's turn that guy off. Falling he's not, and there's no other ones we have to worry about. So now if we go back to our main camera, let's create a new bool. To start off with, we're just going to say is crouching test. So this is going to get the other crouch bool that we just set up in our player model to make sure that whenever he is crouching, he's not actually crouching. Because the problem with having a get button down is if we press get down and then say we go and jump and we press crouch again, it will still register because this is a totally different FSM. So what we want to do is get FSM bool, and we're going to get the player. So let's drag our player model, our movement, and is crouching. We're going to store that value is crouching test, and we're going to do a bool test. And the bool test will be crouching test, and if it's true, it's crouch. Every frame, copy these two, And let's paste these guys in here, and if it's false, guess what, he's gonna go back to standing. Alright, so now when he's doing that, we're gonna set the position of our camera. So let's set the current position. So the current position will be, what are we gonna set it as? 11.84, but you'll notice, I'll show you what happens when we use this one. So let's set this to there, and let's just reduce it. Let's make it let's make it 5. So now when we press play and we press crouch, the camera instantly shoots into this position, which isn't ideal, kind of jars. So what we really want to do is let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this one. Don't know why that was 2. And let's get rid of this. So let's go iTween. We're gonna say move to. So that should be good. I think that's the one we want. We're not gonna we're not gonna move. We're gonna vector position, and the vector position, let's make it about 7, because the other one was a bit close, over a time of 1. And we'll position ourselves, and let's bring this guy in here. We may have to adjust this, make this 11.84. That should be good. So let's just have a quick play of this and see if it's going to work. Alright, so now you'll notice it goes nice and smooth backwards and forwards. So now when we go in here and we want to go into crouch, it goes nice and smooth. And we could even speed it up a little. So let's say if we want the crouching to be a lot faster, let's go in here. Alright, so we're jumping. Alright, so crouched a lot faster. So that's looking good. Alrighty, so that's looking great. Alrighty, so I think that pretty much wraps up this quite long tutorial. We've created quite a lot of things. Our system's quite robust, and we have a really good 2.5D starter system right now. In our next tutorial, we'll probably start to work on the combat and also start up some enemy patrol areas, which we will use as static objects. So if we do a quick one here, this is going to be our static. Let's go into our window navigation, and we just pretty much all we're going to do is bake it, and then these little areas will be what the enemies can walk on. So it's going to be lots of fun. So I will see you guys in the next tutorial. If you've liked this, please leave me a comment, or if you have any questions, because it was quite long. If you get confused, just leave me a comment as well, and I will get back to you. But this has been Kiranova Sapien for Filmstorm Studios, and I will see you guys probably in a couple of days when I release the next one. Alright guys, thanks for watching.